welcome back to my nursery, and welcome if you are new here, and thank you so much for subscribing. Today is part 2 video on how to reborn a manufactured doll or upgrade your doll. So the first video I showed you how to take off and remove the head and the zip tie and add a magnet to your doll so that it can take a magnetic pacifier. And today's video we're going to show you how to change out the body if you're interested in changing out the body. I ordered this online from Roseanne's Boutique on Facebook. It was specially made so that it was nice and soft and I could pick out a pattern. And I will link that below in the description for you so that you can reach her if you're interested in having a baby body made for one of your dolls or reborns to replace the old or existing one. I am also going to show you how to reweight your baby. I did find this packet inside of her head. It's a poly pellet packet. I'm going to save it for later and use that for weighting. Might as well reuse the materials you already have. So you may need a few zip ties if you are doing a repair on your baby or you are going to replace the body and it does not have any zip ties. You're going to want these small doll ones. You can order them from places like Bountiful Baby or McPherson's. The body that I have already comes with zip ties attached to it, but some bodies don't, so you may need some extra doll zip ties to replace those later on. I am going to place a new body on this baby, and I'm also going to reweight this baby. Some of my babies I kept the bodies on and I just reweighted them, but I can show you how to do both in this video. And first I'm going to start with taking out all the stuffing and the filling inside of this baby, and I'm going to keep it for later in a Ziploc bag like this. You might as well reuse it and use what you have on hand as long as it's good quality materials. And I'm going to save this for later to restuff this baby with her new body. If you are reweighting the baby, you are going to need a couple pairs of stockings. I got mine from Walgreens for 99 cents. And you're going to need weighting material. I use fine glass beads, which you can order online. I get mine on eBay. But these you're going to need to hold in that weighting material so it doesn't leak out, and I'll show you how to do that. You're also going to need a funnel. I believe I got it at the Dollar Tree. You can get it just about anywhere, Walmart, but you're going to need it for filling the limbs, and you're going to want a glass measuring cup to hold your beads, and I will show you how to use both of these in this video to reweight your baby. Once again, you're going to want your cutting tools. I got these from Walmart. I explained in my first video, part 1, and you're going to need those for cutting the zip ties on your baby and removing the limbs. I am also going to use a wafer. It's a baby powder wafer to help the baby smell like a real baby. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the baby today. These I was able to get on Amazon. They are called Wonder Wafers, and they are baby powder scented, and I'll leave a link for those. So I am just going to start removing the stuffing and any kind of weighting material in this baby doll, and I am going to place it in this bag here to save for later. They usually tend to overstuff these babies, so you are probably going to have a lot left over, a lot extra, no worries. But this is why I like to change out the body and reweight them and restuff them myself, because these babies are usually very overstuffed when they come from the manufacturer. Now that I have removed all of the stuffing, I am going to remove each of the limbs. Just like I showed you in the first video, you're going to want to remove that stitch that they have in there first. This is only on manufactured dolls, not on regular reborn dolls. There's usually not a stitch. But I use my clippers just to clip that stitch, and I use the needle nose pliers just to pull out that little stitch so that I can get to the zip tie that is around the limb. Sometimes that zip tie is very loose and will just come right off with your needle nose pliers, or you can just pull off the limb, but sometimes you do need to cut it with those little pliers. I get my tools in the section at Walmart where you do jewelry making, where the beads are. These are smaller and just easier to use on the dolls. And then once I take off the limbs, I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and remove some of the stuffing, just because the hole is so small, it's hard to get your finger in there. So it's just easier to use these two tools that you have for removing zip ties and removing stuffing from the limbs. I'm going to save all the stuffing and just remove the other 3 limbs in the exact same way as you saw here. Just using my pliers. Now that the limbs have been emptied of all the stuffing and I've stored it, the body is completely empty, and you can keep it for another doll later if you need it, for a cheaper doll if you'd like, or you can just discard it. But now that I have all my limbs, you're gonna remove all the rings, and you want to keep those rings for later. You're gonna need them, but just make sure all of your limbs are good and empty, because we are going to fill these up now with weighting material to make these limbs a little bit heavier and more realistic. So here is the part where you're going to need your funnel and your glass measuring cup. You're going to want to use these with your fine glass beads. So this medium is kind of like sand, it's very fine. You're going to want to be really careful not to get it everywhere. I use this glass measuring cup to scoop up some of the beads in my bag, so it makes it easier to pour because it has a spout. So it'll be easier to get that into my funnel. You're going to want to place your funnel inside the limb and then pour the glass beads inside of the limb. I usually try to fill the limbs up about halfway to either the knee or the elbow. So I'm kind of just eyeballing it and seeing if I need a little bit more. You can add a little bit more if you need to, but you're also going to be packing it down by patting it. I pat the limb so that the glass beads get packed down to about knee level or elbow level if you're doing the arms. But you're going to want to make sure you pack it down so it gets down into the foot and the hands. And I usually just squeeze the foot to make sure it feels nice and heavy, like the weighting material is in there. So I'm going to take my stuffing and put it into the end of the limb, and this is to keep the weighting material from coming out and hold it inside. I'm now going to put that ring that we saved back inside the limb to hold that in place, just like so. And then we are going to repeat these steps on all of the other 3 limbs. Now that we have all of the limbs filled with all of our weighting material, we are going to attach them to the body and then secure them with the zip ties. And just make sure that when you are tightening the zip ties, you don't want to go too tight. You want to make sure that your limbs can still move. This is why I will replace the zip ties on the bodies or replace the bodies altogether, because on these manufactured dolls, none of the limbs move, the head doesn't move, the legs and arms don't move. And I like my Reborn dolls to have movable, posable limbs so that I can dress them and so that I can take photos. So I just make sure that as I'm tightening these zip ties with each limb, that I'm not tightening them too close. I make sure that my limbs can move pretty freely. If it's too loose, I'll just tighten it a little tiny bit more, just like so, and then I'll keep trying to move it. As soon as it starts to feel just a little bit tight, then I know I'm done. I'm not going to cut the zip ties until the very end. Once I have all of my limbs on and I have them exactly the way that I want them, I will save that step for last. So I'm just going to continue to stuff the body now. I want to put a little bit of stuffing in the bottom of the baby. They are gathered on these bodies in the little bottom area, and I just want to make sure that this baby has a cute little bum so that when you put a diaper on, this baby's little bottom looks nice and cute and they fit into their clothes really well. So I put stuffing in the bottom, and then I will show you how to put some weighting material in the stockings that we have, because you're going to fill up 2 of those stockings for the body so that we can weight that bottom and it feels nice and heavy. I found this little bag of weighting material in the baby, and I'm just going to go ahead and reuse it, but I'm also going to add another bag of weighting material because I like my babies really heavy. I like them to feel realistic, so I'm just stuffing a little bit of the polyfill stuffing in between the 2 bags, and I will show you how to fill up one of those bags for the rest of the body to weight the chest area. So here I have our pair of stockings, and I just got these stockings from Walgreens, super cheap, 99 cents a pair, and I'm going to use one of these stockings for the chest area, and I'm also going to use the other one for the head. I want to make the head heavy as well so it feels realistic like a real baby. And I have a good amount of stuffing in here, but I keep squishing the body and just make sure that it's not too tight and overstuffed. I like my babies to feel really squishy. So again, we're going to get some weighting material in our measuring cup, and we're going to use our little graduated cylinder to attach the stocking so that we can fill it with the glass beads. Just going to insert it at the top of the stocking, and then we can pour. I usually use about 1/2 cup of weighting material in each stocking. Sometimes you just have to straighten out that stocking so it continues to fill up. Once my stocking is nice and full, I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot in it. And then I'm going to turn this stocking inside out on this little kind of like bean bag that I've made and created, so that it just gives it an extra layer of protection so that your filling does not come out, because it's kind of powdery and fine and you don't want it leaking out of your baby. And if your stocking's really long, I'll even turn it inside out a 3rd time, because you want kind of like a really squishy beanie bag type of sack to place inside your baby. You don't want it too firm or tight. You want it nice and loose so that your baby feels nice and squishy. You don't want it to feel like you have a rock inside of your baby. So I'm just going to kind of push it into the middle of the stuffing that I already have in there, and then I'm going to just surround it with some more polyfill stuffing and just get this baby's chest area kind of filled out so that it doesn't look wrinkly or too loose, but I still want the baby to feel soft and squishy. You don't want your baby to feel hard. Now I'm just adding a little bit of polyfill stuffing to the shoulder area. You don't want to do too much because you don't want your baby to look like a football player, but this baby does have 3/4 arms that are movable, and you do have to put a tiny bit of stuffing in that area before you attach the arms. So now I'm just getting her little arms attached on here and just making sure that everything lines up properly before I tighten and clip the zip ties. Just want to make sure that her arms are moving freely. She does have joints so that you can move her arms any way you want them. I'm just making sure that her legs also move freely, and then once I get the legs the way that I like them, movable, tight but movable, I will go ahead and cut the zip ties, and then we can attach the head. Now I'm just checking to make sure the glue inside the head where the magnet is nice and dry, so that I can add some weighting material to her head and also add some stuffing so that she doesn't lose the shape of her head. I'll also add some polyfill stuffing just to keep the weighting material inside, and I'm just making sure that her pacifier fits on her face well and it looks like everything's okay. I have another little bag of poly pellet beads that came with her in her head. I'm going to go ahead and stick those back inside because that's just less material that I have to use, and that's what came with her. And I'm going to show you how to insert the stocking into her head. And you're just going to kind of roll it around the neck here like so, and this will just make it easier for you to get that weighting material inside that head so that you don't have to hold the stocking. And you're going to go ahead and get your little cylinder and your weighting material, your fine glass beads. We're going to once again dip that measuring cup in there, and I usually do about a half a cup of these beads also in the head. So go ahead and pour that in, and it's going to be just like the last time that you filled the stocking. You're just going to let that run in, and I just kind of eyeball it and make sure it doesn't run out. Once you're done filling it with the weighting material, you're going to tie a knot in it. I usually will tie 2 knots just to be on the safe side, and then you can just stuff that stocking right in the head there, and you're going to secure it with some polyfill stuffing as well to hold it inside. And also, once you're done putting the stuffing inside to hold all the weighting material in, you're going to go ahead and place that neck ring back in that area where you originally found it. So now that you place the neck ring in, I'm just going to take this little wafer that smells like baby powder, and I'm going to fold it up, and I am going to place it in about where the neck ring is, and just add a little bit of polyfill stuffing to hold it in. And this will help your baby to smell more like a real baby and smell like baby powder. So I have gone ahead and attached her head and clipped the zip tie. I just need to make sure that her head is nice and loose and that it turns, and all of her limbs are loose and that they turn, because that is just super important for me. It adds to the realism, and I just don't like it when you have babies that you can't pose or easily dress. So here she is with her nice new body. And I'm just going to go ahead and dress her into her clothes. I have a cute little onesie, and I'm going to put her back into her diaper and her little outfit that she came in. And then I'm going to attach her pacifier and show you when she's all dressed up and cute and finished. So here she is. She is finally complete with her new body and weighted, and has her magnet for her pacifier, and she looks super cute. I cannot wait to do a giveaway with this sweet baby once we reach 1,000 subscribers. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button to be a part of that giveaway, and I will see you guys in our next video. Guys, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.